Our parsha begins with God telling Moses to ask the Israelites to bring truma. Tihu et trumati. Tell the Israelite people to bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts for me from every person whose heart is so moved. These gifts, this truma. So I asked you when we started the reading this morning to think about what it was. It was the best gift you've ever received and why it was so. What makes that the best gift? The gift of time. It's a good one. It's a very philosophical one. Can you elaborate a bit more on that? So just the time in general, not time with the person. It's not that the person gave you time, it's just time in general. So I'm going to love the answer, Cantor, but we're going to ask the best gift we've received from a person, okay? Not from the universe, from God. The best gift we've received from person. What's the best gift you've received from another person? Appreciation. I love that. Can you elaborate a little bit more? Why is that the best gift you can receive from someone? Wonderful. Right? You like to know that things you're doing are appreciated to the people you're doing them for. Anyone else have an answer? What's something that's the best gift you've received? Friendship. Why? Can you elaborate? Beautiful. People really went philosophical here, we have. I think Cantor started us out on that with time, appreciation, friendship. I remember my bar mitzvah, the best gift was the one that was, in my mind, the most money that I could buy for something. Right? That was what I thought. And my dad was trying to explain to me that these bonds actually are worth more, but I can't cash those for 30 years. And the gift card to Best Buy seemed to me a better gift at the time. Right? Got a 3.2 megapixel camera with my bar mitzvah money. I want to tell you that what a 128 megabyte memory card cost back then. That's what I use my Best Buy gift cards for. But when I was young, these were the things that I thought of as the best gift. I thought of the value of the object. And I can see I'm in a room now this Shabbat in a sanctuary with a lot of wise people who didn't just immediately go to value. When I think about the objects that I have, one of my favorite gifts somebody ever gave me is the charm on the necklace that I'm wearing now. And it's a gold chai, and it's not that the value of the chai is particularly worth a lot financially, but the meaning behind it. Belonged to my grandfather, who passed away when I was fairly young, just in kindergarten. And my grandmother gave it to me the night of my rabbinic ordination. And to me, of all the gifts I've received, this is something that's meant a lot to me, and I've worn daily since. And I carry it with me, not because of the value of it, or the physical value, the economic value, but because of the emotional value, what it means. That's very different than how I thought at my bar mitzvah. And it's very different than I see how many people here in this room think when they brought up ideas like friendship and time and appreciation. But I think many in our society don't think that way. When we think about gifts, we think of the value of them. We think of the content of them, the physical item, as opposed to the meaning behind that item. So looking at our parsha, God tells Moses to command the Israelites, bring me gifts. You shall accept gifts from me from every person whose heart is so moved. And what are these gifts? Gold, silver, copper, blue, purple, crimson yarn, fine linen, goat's hair. Anyone received goat's hair before? Tanned ram skins, dolphin skins, acacia wood, oil, spices, incense, precious stones. There's a lot of different choices of the gifts that one could give to the tabernacle, to God. And the reason being that everyone was expected to give. No matter what their economic level was, everyone whose heart so moved them from that first commandment had the opportunity to give. And what was the purpose of all of this giving? V'esu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. Let them make me a sanctuary, and I may dwell among them. All of these gifts were collected for the building of the sanctuary, the mikdash, the tabernacle, the portable sanctuary the Israelites carried with them in the desert, the place of gathering. And what was all of this about? That I shall dwell among them. Rashi says they were meant to build a Beit Kedusha, a house of holiness. There are some interpreters who want to say that God's presence physically was in there, dwelled right there in the Holy of Holies. But it's interesting to me that Rashi doesn't speak that way. About what made it holy was that God lived in that place, but that this was a house of holiness, a place of holiness, a space. The Kedushat Levi, the Hasidic Rebbe from the 18th century, Rabbi Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev, he explains that Betocham, amongst them, should be translated as within them. Not in the physical space itself, but in the Israelites, in those that gave, within the hearts and minds of the Israelites, he says. So what's the lesson there between these two different commentators and their commentaries? Well, some talk very literally about this is a space in the Holy of Holies where God will dwell physically. Rashi talks about this whole space being holy, not just the center spot, not just where God dwells, but where the Israelites gather, where the Israelites participate in ritual and community and life cycles. The Kedushat Levi tells us that it's not actually the space itself, but the people who go into that space. You give of yourself. You create a space of holiness. God dwells there. But it's not the physical building, according to Kedushat Levi there, the people who gather, the people who are in the room. That's where God dwells. You need the space for them to gather. You need the space for them to live the rituals and the traditions. You need the communal space for them to live a communal life. But it's not the physical building and the place that is holy, but the people who enter. So this Shabbat, today, Shabbat, there's another name some are calling today. I don't know if you've heard it or not. I imagine most of you have, because it's been fairly appalling in the news. There are some who've declared today a day of hate. So a white supremacist group in the United States has called for this day to be a day for people to fight out against the Jewish people. It's a scary thought that in 2023, someone could publicly declare a day of hate in the United States of America, in a modern society. That's what happened. And this is a small and fringe group, but they have Jews and Jewish organizations around the world on edge. Security measures are increased. I've spoken to people not just in the United States, but here in Canada, who said, I might not come to shul this week because of it. I might not go to the JCC for a program or a class this week because of it. Because they're afraid. And I understand that. Everyone needs to make very personal, very real decisions about their own safety and security and that of their families. But I'm also reminded this week of a holiday we have coming up very soon, of Purim. And on Purim is a man you may have heard of, Mordechai. And when he had everything put on the line, what did he do? He refused to bow to Haman. He risked his life. He risked everything because he knew what he was doing was the right thing. He refused to bow. As Jews, we have a mission. We have a mission to be an or legoyim, a light to the nations. We have a mission to carry on the rituals and traditions that have sustained us for generations. We have a mission to carry on the memories of those who came before us. We have a mission to spread values like justice, mishpat, and chesed, compassion in the world. And we have a mission that we get this week in our parsha, to create holy spaces here on earth. And the way we do that starts with gifts. Some can afford to give gold, and others can afford to give silver. Some can only afford copper. Others linen or oil or just spices. As you know, Mark, we have a fish person in the community, so we can go to him for our dolphin skins. But we're commanded to give what we can give. What I'm asking you on Shabbat right now is not about money or physical possession. Something much more precious than that. Something many of you understood earlier at the beginning of this with your answers. I'm asking you to give time. I'm asking you to set aside time in your busy week with everything else pulling for you, everything else you have to do to be a part of a community. I'm asking you to give attention, to give focus. When our attention is pulled in so many different directions between work, our families, our personal lives, and everything else going on in the world, to make community, to make Beth Torah a part of your attention and your focus. Most of all, presence. For those of you sitting here today in this room, this Shabbat, you've given your presence. Some of you it's every week, some of you it's once in a while, and that's okay. It's wonderful to see you here. But to those joining us at home, when you can, we ask for your presence. These are the things that we need. We need to come together as a community. That takes each and every person. It doesn't just take objects and money. It doesn't just take commodities, but that mikdash, that Beit Kedusha that Rashi talks about, that place of holiness, not the physical space, but the people there. So as we continue to come together, we continue to gather, as we continue to stand strong and firm, united against hatred, it's important that we stand with each other. So this Shabbat, I ask you to think about what else you can give. Maybe a little bit more time, maybe a little bit more presence, maybe a little more attention. But from each and every person, we need that. We're going to create that space where God dwells here on earth. Shabbat Shalom.